It's time for the social show with Viwe.
Social show?
Social show.
A very warm welcome to the social show. My name is Viwe, and for the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk all things CSI, CSR, shared value, but more than that, we're going to be highlighting the greatest NGOs, social entrepreneurs, and people who are really thought leaders in making South Africa better. If you have any comments, please don't be afraid, rather, to send me an email on press@social-tv.co.za. Alternatively, you could just send me a tweet on brandlife.co.za. Without taking more of your time, let me go straight into the news.
CSI update.
The South African Institute of Black Property Practitioners annual convention takes place from the 7th to the 8th of August this year under the theme The New Normal. The event will address the conscientious debate surrounding land reform in South Africa and how it will be implemented or will affect the property sector and other stakeholders. The upcoming convention aims to provide a platform for professionals within the South African property industry to not only network and share information, but to also engage in meaningful dialogue around transformation within the industry. Speakers and panelists include a range of key industry stakeholders and decision makers from the public and private sector, as well as funding institutions. In other news, in the wake of the city of Ekurhuleni's new mandatory household recycling program launched earlier this month, the South African PET recycling sector has stepped up to assist recycling SMMEs. The development initiative, spearheaded by the national recycling body PETCO and key players in the PET value chain, will see a number of small enterprises equipped to participate more effectively in the circular economy by deriving value from post-consumer waste. This follows concerns from SMMEs and informal waste collectors that they will be sidelined by the new separation at source scheme. The Gauteng-based beneficiaries include Ekhulisa, Gauteng Primary Cooperative, as well as CJU Environmental Management Boksburg, as well as Laquisha holdings in Vosloorus. And lastly, in our news, Hogan Lovells launched its new report, Africa and Renewables, Wholesale Change or Short-Term Surge, at the recent African Energy Forum in Mauritius. Compiled with input from the firm's partners and clients spanning infrastructure, energy, finance, and private equity, the report highlights the challenges posed by producing and accessing renewable energy in Africa and how these can be overcome to achieve a potential and scale. In sub-Saharan Africa, approximately 1/3 of the population has no electricity and will with demand outstripping supply due to increasing life expectancy driven by greater access to healthcare, increased urbanization, and technological advances. And that concludes our news for today.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. brandlive.co.za.
The Rock, Jazz and Reggae Emporium presents the Republic of 94 Festival of the Bands. As we let go of winter, we bring you the heat with South Africa's best rock, jazz and reggae acts. Join us on the 25th of August 2018 at 94 Republic, Bromfontein. For more info, check out our Facebook page, Rock, Jazz and Reggae Emporium, and tickets will be available at CompuTicket.
When I was 5 years old, I was an annoying kid, playing all the time and asking my mom to buy me that toy or that toy. And I always wondered why my dad can do the same. Why he needs to spend his time doing boring things like waking up in the morning very early or coming back late at night. But time has changed. From 2007 to 2012, the number of unemployed people has increased from 170 million to 202 million. And 75 million young people just like me are currently unemployed. So I guess that my father, he had an easier time finding a job. But we can change that.
You're back on the social show with myself, Viwe. I don't know about you, but I've always had an issue with the way I look in so many different ways. Body shaming statistics actually indicate that 94% of teenage girls have been body shamed. However, the practice isn't just exclusive to females, right? Teenage boys and men are subjected to thoughtless opinions and hurtful comments made as well. Nearly 65% of teen boys reported to have been body shamed. Like with many aspects of bullying, keyboard courage plays a big role in those who make hurtful and derogatory comments toward others online. By typing body shaming comments to celebrities and strangers online, the individual sort of feels as if they have they feel as though they have to like come with some sort of comeback, or they just don't feel good about the statements and the words. However, recent studies show that sort of body fat or fat shaming comments can leave lasting impressions on those who receive them, not just mentally but physically. One study, although limited in its scope of participants, indicates that those who have a poor body image, it's related to being fat shamed in their past, or repeatedly being told that they are fat or they are not attractive, have higher levels of SKKS, which increase the risk of heart and metabolic diseases. Now, this is not the only reason I have my guests today on the show. I definitely believe in body positivity in every way. I advocate for it wherever I go. And I think it's quite an interesting movement that Full Cream Figure has. Sorry. So, Full Cream Figure is a South African fat positive movement and magazine that celebrates fat bodies and encourages society to confront the internal prejudice that it has towards marginalized groups, with a magnified focus on the lives and experiences of fat people. Full Cream Figure aims to create a safe and open environment where fat people can unpack and share their insecurities, their pain, their thoughts and challenges. Full Cream Figure also serves as a space for healing, sisterhood, fact activism, celebration and blooming for fat people. Today I'm joined by Livhuwani, as she's affectionately known on Instagram and all social medias. And thank you so much for being here this cold morning.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely. I'm just going to put it out there. You're my woman crush Wednesday.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
No, definitely. You guys have been around for so little, but you're booming sort of Instagram. So there's a lot of feedback that's coming back.
Yes.
But before we get into the movement in the magazine, let's talk a little bit about where this need for this movement sort of began for you. Obviously, you saw a gap, you saw an issue, personal or not. Sort of what inspired this observation?
So I'm a marketer at heart, so I literally spend every single day trying to find opportunities for business and trying to identify markets where businesses can make profits. And every time I'd consult, I'd find that brands really undermine the fat market, but we're such a large market globally and nobody's catering to us. So I thought to myself, I'm going to create a platform that challenges what they say in boardrooms. Because in boardrooms, they say fat people won't buy. They're not a big enough market. They honestly don't matter. So I said, let me start a platform where I'm challenging this convention in boardrooms and in important spaces where they say that. Let me start this and let me prove to them that if I open a platform that has a positive message and that encourages women to love themselves, that we can convert that kind of attitude into profits.
100%.
And I've proved them wrong. So
you definitely have.
I'm very excited.
I sort of love the way you guys have taken away the power from the word fat.
Yes.
Right? Because many people would say, overweight or obese or a little bit chubby, but they'll never use the word fat because it has such a bad connotation. Is there a reason why you use that word and why you specifically say fat people?
I think what's the word? Got the nail right on the head.
Yes.
But you're completely right. I think the word fat has such a negative connotation, and we want to empower fat people by giving them power in that word. When I was talking to a friend of mine a few weeks ago, I actually said to her, I was like, if I acknowledge that the word fat is bad, then I'm acknowledging that my existence is bad because I am fat. Therefore, the word fat can't be bad because I'm not a bad person. Fat people aren't bad people.
I completely
Our
agree.
existence isn't bad. Therefore, fatness is not bad. The word fat should not be bad.
Yes.
The word person, the word woman, nothing. It's a word. It shouldn't be bad.
100%.
Yeah.
So will you be inviting, or have you invited sort of a male and female sort of idea on the site? I know it's a website as well as obviously a movement.
Yeah.
Are you looking at men and women? Because fat men also exist, right?
Yes.
And they get the worst part of it as well. I wonder if you're also looking at that, or you just sort of looked at women first and then you're going to move on to males? How is that going to work?
So 6 months into the movement, I started getting lots of emails from men saying, but where's our platform?
Yeah.
So I started something called FCF Fashion.
Okay.
And that's in collaboration with a group of fat men, because I feel like I can't really create the content that will speak directly to fat men because I'm not a fat man. I don't know their experiences.
Yes.
And it's growing surely but slowly, very nicely. We're getting a lot of feedback from them. They're enjoying the page. And I think we're the first one in Africa, probably, to have a fat page for men where they can celebrate their bodies and get fashion tips and that kind of thing.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what kind of help are you gonna, so I know you guys have you want people to share their insecurities, their pain and their thoughts, but that comes with a lot of a lot of responsibility. You can't just say people just speak about stuff and not have a way to acknowledge their problems and sort of help them out. So I wonder how you're going to transform the movement into something that can speak to the individual without sort of neglecting how they actually feel and how they've been bullied and how their society is perceiving them. How are you going to channel that?
So Full Cream Figure is primarily a magazine and a movement, and we want to make it profitable. So we're trying to take it to market in different aspects, in fashion and a lot of things. So we do collaborate with psychologists and that kind of thing, and they come on our platforms all the time, and we let the women speak. We let them say, oh, I had a bad day today, somebody said this and this and this, and then the psychologist will intervene and say, this is how you can handle this, or just speak, because a lot of fat people don't get the opportunity to speak about their lived experiences. So I think even just them speaking about it is enough catharsis for them
100%.
to empower themselves and do more for their lives. So I think our primary existence is just about allowing people to voice what they've always kept inside. And then they can connect with other people who can help them move forward if they need extra help from that.
100%. Any partnerships on the horizon that you think would support the work that you do? Because it's a big movement, right? It's not only from a market perspective. I think from a social perspective, you've got a lot of people who'd love to be part of it. How is that working for you?
So we have different ways that people can be part of FCF. We obviously have the corporate where we're asking corporates to advertise on our website and give us gifts for giveaways and free things so we can give women, sanitary towels, matric dance dresses, whatever it can be. We want corporates on board. But we also encourage our followers to write for us, to share whatever online content that they create, whether it's YouTube videos, makeup tutorials. Our entire online magazine, the website, is content from them.
Wow.
So it's literally fat people creating content for each other, sharing everything that they know and trying to grow themselves and their communities with what they know. And that's kind of how we are leveraging off of everyone in the community and their strengths and what they have to offer.
100%. And when I saw this site, which is quite beautiful, I love the imagery and the logos and everything. I saw that it was a sort of a huge section on health, right?
Yes.
So I wonder how you, it's a very difficult thing to sort of ask, but what's that line between, the healthy of because that's what we want, right? We want everybody to be healthy and to be happy and to be healthy in their minds and how they think of themselves, but also healthy in the way that they are, you know, in the way that they live. How do you balance that without coming off as if you're trying to change them? Or I just wonder how you balance the word health and the word fat. If that makes any sense.
A lot of time people ask me that question in interviews, and I always ask the host, I say, if you were interviewing Glamour magazine, would you ask them the same question? Nobody interrogates whether these magazines are giving women health advice or if they're giving them the right health advice. Yeah. So I believe that because we're a platform that exists just to say being fat is normal, we're going to give them normal advice that we would give to any woman. Whether you're thin or you're fat, the advice we give you is applicable to your life. So we are not about diet culture. We don't offer diet advice on our website, but we do offer mental health and just general health. Like if you're feeling stressed, take a walk. Walks do this and this for you. You know, it's literally general health for everybody.
It's not pressured.
We are normal people.
Yeah, and of course.
So we're not going to make it special just because people think fatness is unhealthy.
Yes.
We are normal. Therefore, our health section will be normal. Anybody can look at it and engage with it.
No, definitely. And I think you're right. I think we don't necessarily interrogate when I think it's opposite side of the coin
Yes.
sort of comes to studio, but I also know there's a lot of thin shaming.
Yes,
you
there
know,
is,
so
there is.
it's pretty vast. What are your hopes moving forward? I mean, it's a great movement, it's a great platform. What do you hope to really achieve?
I hope that we can grow into a really large organization that shows the world that you can make profits from doing good. And I would love to have a huge office full of fat women with great talents, just creating the content, creating the platforms, building our country and showing people what positivity can do for your life.
100%.
That's our hope.
I hope so. I hope the same thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I
A
had so
beautiful
much fun.
platform, a full figure. And what's the Instagram sort of handle?
So everything is full cream figure.
Okay.
Full cream figure everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, everywhere it's full cream figure.
I'm definitely subscribing and logging on and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Can't wait to read. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with things to remember.
Imagine that you have $1.25. In the United States, you can have 5 bags of deep cheese and a pretzel. In London, you can have an instant soup. In India, you can have 2 steamed rice cakes. In Ghana, you can have a small box of chicken and rice. While you're imagining the tasty smell of that chicken and rice, 1.3 billion people around the world only have $1.25 to survive per day. They don't have a choice, but you do.
What kind of things does a child deserve to have in his or her tiny hands? Probably a candy or a toy, or even better, a book and a pen. But what if this pen gets replaced by a gun? Imagine the horror of violence and abuse children are facing every day and the kind of future we are building for them. In fact, 300,000 children are still working as militants in conflicting areas all around the world. They did not have a choice, but you do.
And this is getting back to an earlier discussion we had. Indra Nooyi said something that I agreed with so much, is that often people confuse purpose and corporate social responsibility. And I think it's really important when defining the purpose for your organization, you know, the role of the customer, the employee, the investor, and then you decide how far you're going to go on broader societal missions. And some organizations are set up explicitly around providing employment for coffee workers in the Amazon, right? Yeah. And they can have that purpose. But then they also have to figure out what the metrics are that they'll hold themselves accountable to. And so the piece that it makes me start thinking about is once you pick it, then you got to pick your metrics, right? So I think you can have as broad a purpose as you choose as an organization, but then you have to also hold yourself accountable. Is that attainable? Is that something I can move the needle on? And how am I going to hold myself accountable for doing that?
Yeah. Dave, how do you think
if you broaden this to look at social responsibility,
yeah.
It becomes a little different animal, because in a company like ours, last year we spent $250 million in charitable gifts and contributions, donations, and different things like that. And that's consistent with the last several years.
Well, you're on a social show with myself, of course, and time for my favorite part of the show, things to remember. I had such a great conversation with Livhuwani, who is the founder of Full Figure, and you can catch that on our podcast straight after the show. But for now, we have things to remember, and I know that you remember and know quite well that it is Madiba's centenary this year, right? It's his 100th year celebration, and everybody's going AWOL. I mean, corporates are going crazy. All of them have given millions to the Madiba and his legacy, and just to make his legacy thrive and to make sure that he is celebrated in all different ways and all different forms, right? But we've also we've got another amazing centenary this year, which is Albertina Sisulu's wife, who was a very pivotal part of the struggle against apartheid. And recently I went to a recent unveiling of the Water Sisulu Circle Garden, which honored not only Water Sisulu but also Albertina Sisulu. The Sisulu Circle Garden is a landscaped area paying tribute to the late Water Sisulu, as I said, as well as Albertina Sisulu, and has been unveiled by the Minister of Environmental Affairs, Edna Molewa, as well as the Minister of Tourism, Derek Hanekom. I was there at the unveiling. We're going to play a few short clips from the Minister, me asking him a few questions, Edna Molewa, as well as Mr. Derek Hanekom, and then we'll come back to this.
Well, I would like to say that we are celebrating the 100th year centenary of Tata Mandela and Mama Sisulu. And in fact, this is a day that we also dedicate to them, the two of them. But we are here to celebrate a garden, the circle of Sisulu, Tata Sisulu, which has been created here using an amount of 2.7 million rand to create the circle, to increase the amount of tourists that are coming here, but also to tell the stories about the legacy of our past and our heroes and heroines. Because if we rename a place, and having done that in 2004, like here at this botanical garden, telling people stories about South Africa, its past, that was those who fought for this liberation that we have enjoying now, but also enjoying the good things about what South Africa is at a botanical garden like this one. The tourists will keep coming and coming, particularly the local ones, because we want people to know about their country and know their country very well. So this circle and the money that we have spent here is actually intended to do so. Later today, by the way, things that I should say here, which will be an honor to steal thunder from other people. The Orchid Society of South Africa has found a special orchid here around this place here, which they have been researching, and they're going to announce that to say that it's named after her, Mama Sisulu as well. It's a beautiful one, special one. So we're really saying, come here and enjoy yourselves.
In the first place, we have places like this in South Africa, many, which makes Destination South Africa a very diverse one. And they're spectacular places, and each one of them is unique. So we have 11 botanical gardens operated under the SANBI, the South African National Biodiversity Institute. Very well managed places, very beautiful places, and each one a little bit different. This one is the Walter Sisulu Botanical Garden, as you know. And what we celebrate here is venues like this that are threefold, really, and more. But firstly, important for biodiversity protection, for research, for public education, all of those related to biodiversity. Secondly, places for people to just enjoy themselves, and very important for tourism, because it means it adds to the offering in South Africa. Kirstenbosch, as you know, in Cape Town has become a very, very popular destination. Walter Sisulu Botanical Garden, increasingly so.
That was the Minister of Environmental Affairs as well as the Minister of Tourism speaking at the unveiling, which took place at the Walter Sisulu National Botanical Garden in Roodepoort a few weeks ago. Molewa reiterated, I think, that South Africa is the third most mega diverse country in the world, and that millions of people annually experience the beauty and the bounty of this magnificent country through visits in places such as the Walter Sisulu National Botanical Garden. What I liked about this specific memorial, or this specific celebration of the Sisulu family and the Sisulu's legacy, was just the fact that it sort of combined the idea of nature and nurture in such a beautiful way, where we sort of understand what we are from a natural perspective, from a biodiverse perspective as South African citizens, but also nurture the history of the people who fought for this specific land and fought for South Africans and the attractions to be highlighted, and for us to be able to go into any space wherever we want to go and see the beauty of this amazing country. Now, the garden plays an important conservation role as well, including protection of one of the few most endangered orchids, and I know that they sort of also, in honor of Mama Albertina, they also named one of the orchids as the Albertina Sisulu orchid in Gauteng, and it is a beautiful, beautiful orchid, and it's the only place where you can find it. Actually, I think it's the Walter Sisulu Garden. So I just thought we'd add that for things to remember, because I think it is important that we remember that we have a beautiful country. We should go ahead and we should make sure that we celebrate our natural heritage and as well as our actual physical heritage and history in the same space. I think those two things coming together is really beautiful to see. And if you have time during the weekend or in the next few months, please don't be afraid to just visit the Walter Sisulu National Botanical Garden, visit the circle, see that beautiful statue that's there. Go and find out a little bit more about the orchid, just so that you can be in tune and in touch with what's happening in South Africa at the moment for Albertina Sisulu's 100th centenary, which is as important as our Udata's centenary. And I hope you remember that fact, right? And that concludes our show for today. If you have anything that you'd like to raise with me or around goodness and being socially productive and socially responsible, please don't be afraid again to send me an email at press@social-tv.co.za. That's press@social-tv.co.za. Don't forget the dash. Or you can just send me a tweet or a message on Facebook, which is brandlive.co.za. And that concludes our show for this beautiful Wednesday. I hope you have a great week, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Same time, same place, only on The Social Show.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. brandlive.co.za